Welcome back to the Skid Factory. We're up to episode 8 of the VL build. Before we get into it, there's a button about there that you need to hit if you haven't already hit it. We're nearly at 100k, so every click helps. If you've already subscribed, thanks for that. If you haven't, click on it. If you've already subscribed, get on your missus' account and subscribe for her. She'll love it. Kramer and I have fitted the engine. It's looking resplendent with its red valve cover. Now we've got to do a few more things. The fuel pressure regulator's got to go on now that we've got everything in the way of it, and we can figure out where to put it without rubbing holes in it. The plenum top could go on for good. Now we've got a bracket for the throttle on it, and then we can connect all the wiring and that sort of thing. Got a radiator coming from Oldcock, just a replacement core. It's a triple core, copper brass, no aluminium because we don't like things rotting away. So we'll fit that up. Standard fan and everything's staying the same, they work perfectly. Then we just got to get into intercooler pipes.
The GoFast Bits FXS fuel pressure regulator is right at home, mounted on the rear of the inlet manifold. The top plenum can then be bolted on for good.
Tom wants to keep the original Airbox just to have it looking relatively standard in the engine bay. The only problem is this has this airflow meter connected to it, which is not very big. So we're going to ditch that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to open up the hole. It's only 70 mil. We're going to open it up to 3 inch. We're going to use this just pod filter adapter off a Nissan airflow meter. And I've got this old Subaru Airbox, and on the inside of those airboxes they've got this neat, it's like a combination of a fastener setup, also with a bell mouth, which is what this had as well. So that's pretty sweet setup for a standard thing, so I'm going to keep with that. The bottom half of this box, we've just opened up the entry point to it, so it's double the size that it used to be, and we'll just see how it goes. I suspect it'll be fine for the application, but we can always just pull it off later if it's no good. So first thing we're going to do is just drill out these rivets and pull that out, mark out the new holes because the bolt pattern's different even though it looks the same. Open up the hole size, probably just use a die grinder for that because it's only plastic, and then we can bolt this through into there, good to go. Then I can make an intake pipe down to the turbo in 3 inch. Let's do it.
The bell mouth from the Subaru Airbox is slightly larger than the hole in the VL Airbox, so Al attaches a die grinding bit to the drill and removes the excess plastic. Using some 3-inch alloy mandrel bends, Al pieces together the intake pipe from the turbo up to the airbox.
Seeing as I've already bolted this throttle body on and glued it all on and stuff, now I've taken it off again because that's what happens. These throttles are really good for the more simpler ECUs because they got the idle control motor that only requires one output that works quite well. So that's why I use them. The only thing that I don't like about them is for some reason they decided that making an oval shaped outlet is a good idea. So whoever had the appropriate drugs to use that engineering decision on the engine that this came off, which was a Ford, well done. So this makes it difficult to, one, clamp a boost ready hose onto. It's also bigger than 3 inch, it's like some random size, like 82 mil all up. So what I'm going to do, because we've got to make a tight turn out of the throttle because the battery is going to remain in the engine bay and we're not going to cut any holes in it. I think the manifold was originally designed to just remove the battery, put it in the boot and go straight through the guard. But Tom does not want any holes cut in it and there's no need to cut them. The only thing is we need to make a pretty tight turn straight out of the throttle and I can't do that with a silicone hose because one, it's very difficult to put the hose on there and two, it just won't fit. So what I'm going to do is cut this off and get rid of this stupid oval shape and just weld the appropriate bend straight on the end of it and then just bead roll it so we can just run a hose joiner and then continue on with our piping out to the intercooler, which we haven't mounted yet. So in the bandsaw it goes, we'll lop it off and then work on making the right angles for it.
Maybe it's oval for Venturi effect. Cram more air in there.
Always talking shit.
Bead rolling the pipe forms a lip on the end to help with sealing and securing a silicone joiner. The other end is given a squish in the vise to get it to the same oval shape as the throttle body. It's then tack welded and test fitted to ensure that it's in the correct position. Some throttle bodies are reasonably easy to weld, like this one. Some are nightmares, like 2JZs, because they're made out of something that isn't very aluminium based. Can you weld a throttle body? Yes, of course. Obviously best to take everything off it if you can. Drive-by-wire throttle bodies, yes, you can weld them as well. Obviously, best to take off the motors and stuff if you can. Otherwise, you just got to be very frugal with the heat. I've had no trouble with them, no failures or anything like that because of it. And neither is Hypertune, who are the ones that told me that it was no problem. So listen to the experts. Hypertune know what they're doing. So yeah, it all comes down to what the material of the throttle is. But quite often you have to weld on either bends or like couplers if you want to run no silicon, like Wiggins clamps, that sort of thing. So it is something that needs to be done occasionally. Same thing, just be careful.
With the throttle body refitted, Al then fits a spring to the cable quadrant.
A little bit of room there, Al?
Without that there, there'll be more than enough.
Old school, eh?
Plenty of room with no intercooler.
The standard air conditioning condenser fan is quite a large bulky item, so it's going to be replaced with something a little more slimline. A 12-inch push fan fits snug in front of the condenser, so some new holes are made and it's secured in place. Al prefers to use bolts and fibre washers when mounting a fan rather than the plastic ties that are usually supplied. Powering up the fan to confirm the polarity of the wires is always a great idea. A piece of paper shows that the fan is indeed pushing the air the correct way.
That's the right way.
With a little more space, we can mount the intercooler higher and closer to the body. The top mounts are secured to the headlight panels and the lower mounts to the bottom of the radiator support panel. With a slight trim of the air ducting, the intercooler is now mounted snug and sound without destroying the body of the car.
What? What's so funny?
You right? Stop that. You're moving the camera around. Yes, you are.